When Nathan Haley made $2,000 on his first wholesale deal at the age of 22, it made such a big impact on him that he decided he wanted to do more of them. Nathan Haley went from that deal of $2,000 profit to $135,000 profit on another deal that he barely touched. In this episode, I'm gonna talk with Nathan Haley about what his secrets are. And by the way, we have a small favor to ask. If you enjoy the show, please leave a review and share it with others. We want to help as many people as possible. Now, let's get to the intro. Hey ballers, welcome to episode 111. With me is Nathan Haley from Houston, Texas. Hey Nathan, how's it going?
Going great. How about you?
Very good. Thanks. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, what are you working on today?
Well, as owners, we sometimes work on a lot of different things. Today am actually closing on a property that,
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. Thank you. One of my wholesale assistants and I saw it about a year ago. So he followed up and we finally got the deal. It's a duplex. I'll be all in at 120 and it'll rent for $950 a side. So that's about a 1.5% rent ratio. So really good for a rental. And so I'm excited about that. I feel duplexes are always great for rentals. They just always cash flow more.
That's cool. I'm going to just sidetrack a little bit. When you said 1.5 ratio, what does that mean?
Rent ratio. So you take your all-in cost. Let me get my calculator out here, make sure. So you take your all-in cost. So 120 divided by, what is that? 950 times 2 is 1900. Sorry, 1900 divided by 120 is 0.015 rent ratio, which is something the banks really look at. Also, they like it to be at least most banks want to see at least a 0.12 rent ratio.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's just another way they gauge if it's a good deal that they want to loan on.
So you take your total rent received, divide by your all-in.
Correct.
Okay.
That gives you the rent ratio. Yeah. And
Okay.
so, it's just another way. I have some that are like a 2% or 20% rent ratio. But those are some of my best deals. So
how long have you been in real estate?
14 years now. I feel like I'm old in real estate. I might look younger, but I'm old in real estate.
How old are you?
Just turned 37.
Oh,
Yeah.
amazing, man. You started way ahead of the curve.
Started when I was 22. Yes, ma'am.
So tell us about what made you decide to get into real estate.
Well, I always either was in sales or was doing my own thing. I was never a really good employee. They were like, show up at this time and be like, I'll let you know when I'm coming in.
You're entrepreneurs.
I just, but I've always been an entrepreneur, just do my own thing. And I just always, since I was like 16, I think I always wanted to do real estate. I just read that most multimillionaires were involved in real estate or had real estate. And it was just something that I really wanted to explore. And so I actually ordered a course from Tim Mai. He's still around, right?
Yeah.
And at the time, I saw it online and it was $1,600. And I was like, well, I don't have $1,600. And it was like, well, you can make payments. And I was like, all right, I'm in. So I ordered the course. It came in, big package, and it had the assignment fee. It had a bunch of DVDs. And basically, I just did exactly what he told me to do. He told me to put out 200 bandit signs in a small area. So I did that. But I actually didn't get the deal from there. I got it from a local paper in Bay Cliff, which is south near Kemah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was just that my mind was always on real estate, even though I didn't get the deal from the bandit signs.
Mm-hmm.
And I got somebody involved in that because I didn't know what I was doing. And we split the deal. We made, I actually brought the buyer. I don't remember how I just brought the buyer, but I did. And, we made $4,000. We split it. And I was like, first of all, back then, that was a lot of money to
Well,
me.
how old
And
were you
then
then? You were in your 20s, right?
22. Yeah.
22.
Yeah. Not only was a lot of money.
Young kid. You made
Yeah.
4,000.
Well, I made two. We split it, but yeah.
So that was
And
like really good.
yeah,
That was a
it
lot of
was
shots.
good. Yeah. And I was just like, what'd I do? I just shuffled some papers around, right? Got a contract and then assigned it. And not only that, but I realized I was like, wow, this actually works, right? And I've been hooked ever since. So.
Well, Tim should be so proud if he listened to this podcast.
Oh, does he? Okay. I tell him all the time. I was like, man, you were my first real mentor coach. So he's like, oh, thank you.
Yeah. So are you doing this full time now?
Yeah, I've been doing it full time. Really, I probably only took off a year or two in that 14 years. So yeah, been doing it
Where are
full
you
time.
from?
I was born in San Antonio, and when I was 10, I moved over here. So I've been in the Clear Lake surrounding area for like probably 17 years.
Okay. So you were very young when you got into real estate. Did you go to college?
No college. I actually graduated early from high school, and I got my GED because I missed a bunch of school. And I moved out of state to Iowa, and then for a year, and then I moved back. So.
Were you working different jobs? What did you do before you got into real estate?
Yeah, different sales jobs, different. When I was in Iowa, I didn't even have a car. I had a bus pass. And, I went to a temp service, just kind of worked different jobs. And then I came back and I was in sales. I worked at Zales. I actually sold cars for a while, for a few years. And, but so glad I got out of the car business into real estate. That's for sure.
That's a very hard business to be in being a car salesman.
Yeah.
Cutthroat.
Yeah, it is. That's why I'm glad I got out in real estate.
And your margin per deal is way bigger in real estate than it is in car, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely.
So do you have a tally of how many deals you have done?
Yeah, so we bought 15 in the last 3 months, and we're going to buy 21 in the next 3. And so, we're just all in different phases right now, those properties. And, my biggest thing is I build my brand through relationships, and that takes time. But I'm also a Keller Williams agent with Clear Lake, Keller Williams. And so I taught once a month 2 realtors on how to invest. And I tell them, you don't need money, you don't need credit. Here's how to do it, right? So at the end of the class, I show them pretty much everything. And then they come to me and they're like, well, I don't have any money and I don't have any credit, right? I don't tell them this, but I'm like, I get it. You're not going to do it, right? But I've given them all this information. Maybe some of it went over their head. But when they come across these properties, now they call me first, and I'm the only one that sees them usually. Right. Okay. We have over 400 agents in our office. So that's one way I get deals. I have 2 other ways. Another way is what I call wholesale assistants. And these are people that come to me like, hey, I like what you're doing. Can you show me? I'm like, okay, I will. And here's my sales pitch to them. And it's true. I say, I can, but so there was another outfit in town, AC Ramos with Prosperity Group. They charged $100,000 to hold people's hands, walk them through it, and people paid it. I said, I'm not going to charge you, but you have to earn your way into the group. The way you earn your way into the group is you drive around and write down 100 vacant homes. That shows me they're serious, first of all, right?
So these are young people, or not young people, but people who
inexperienced, no experience. Okay. Yeah. And so I tell them, drive around, write those down. We'll send them off to the skip trace service. And then we start out on a a 70-30 split. So they basically call, buying houses in your neighborhood, work with an investment company. I was wondering if you're looking to sell. They say yes or maybe. Great. When's a good time for my business partner to give you a call? And I take it from there. Right. And so then they can work their way up and start earning more, depending on how many deals they bring in. So my third way is just I have built relationships with a handful of wholesalers, and I buy some from them also.
So tell us a little bit more. I know that, a lot of people that in our industry, they get lead by doing direct mails, internet, right? That's a big part. But you've never done any of that.
I wouldn't say I've never done it. I've never done it on a scale that you could reproduce and get a bunch of deals from it.
Mm-hmm.
I started in real estate with Tom Berry. I'm sure everybody knows Tom Berry, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't, he owns ILS. He's got the biggest hard money company in Houston. He is more involved in the commercial and loaning is his big thing now, right? Hard money loans.
Yeah.
So we started in real estate together. He had flipped one house in Ohio, but basically we both started with almost zero experience. And so we would, we'd call each other every day for like 2 years or
So
every
is
other
that
day.
right? You started out with Tom Berry. Wow.
Yes.
I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Yep. And so we did a lot of friendly competition, hey, I put out more bandit signs than you, blah, 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 and I got this call. What should we do? So we split deals up. We worked together. We actually owned an apartment complex 3 years ago together. But first he's my friend, and then we do business. He's like my second dad. He calls me his fifth son, so or his fifth child, excuse me.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we're real close, and we did a lot of friendly competition and started that process.
Okay. So do you do mostly single family, residential, commercial, any multifamily?
So mostly do single family. I have owned a apartment complex that was 3 years ago. And so I got a lot of good experience from that. And I will buy another one. I just feel like there's not any good deals, for apartments out there. And when they're I'll evaluate them and look at them. I just have not found one that I'm ready to move on. But I guess I'm comparing it to back then when Tom was buying all these apartment complexes. He was buying them for like half off. That this was back in 2009, 2010. And so it's just different now. It's different.
Let's go back to that relationship building real quick, because that's so important in our industry. It's a small world, right?
Yeah.
How did you get that going?
Yes. So I'm sorry. I was actually going with Tom. So Tom and I grew up in real estate together, I like to call it. Mm-hmm. And Tom, believe it or not, was a cheapskate, big time. Okay. So how do we do our bandit signs? We had about 30 cents in each bandit sign. You're like, how's that possible? They're like $2, right? Well, here's what we did. So we would go get the Coroplast, the stuff it's made of, from Reese Supply downtown. I think they're still in business. Mm-hmm. He's like, bring your SUV or truck, because I'm not going to fit in your car. 6 foot by 4 foot sheets, right? We put them in there. We would cut them with a box cutter, cut them out all ourselves. And I get a fat marker from Office Depot, really fat, and I'd write them all out myself. I buy houses as is, cash and my phone number, right?
Isn't that amazing? I found some of my old sign the other day too.
Yeah, that you wrote out. Yeah.
I actually hand wrote them.
Yeah. Well, Tim Mai actually said that too. He was like, if it's handwritten, it looks like a local guy, not a big company. So we went with that, and it was cheap. That really is the biggest thing, right? So we wrote them all out, and then we would go to McCoy's and get the little wood stakes for about 5 cents.
Yeah.
And then we go to Home Depot and get these big box of nails with the red tips on them. Huge boxes for I forget the cost, but you buy them in bulk, right?
Yeah.
And then every now and then we would get some of those metal the metal stakes, you put in the ground. But those were super expensive, so we were like holding on to those, and I'm telling you, he taught me how to be cheap, right? So, I've always done things the cheaper way from then. I've never really spent money to get leads, and really it was out of necessity at first, but I went with it. And in my personality, I'm very social. I like to help people, and I like to interact with people, and I like to coach. So it just naturally was a good fit for me to do also.
So bandit sign was huge back then, right? Even up until what, 5, 6 years ago, there's time when we see like 10 sign at one corner. You think
Mm.
they still big today? This episode is brought to you by Buzz Vacation Rentals, a premier property management company in Houston and Galveston area. Give Buzz a call at 281-549-8432 to learn more about their rent guarantee program, or check out their website at listwithbuzz.com. Now, back to the Real Estate Baller Show.
They still work. I have a buddy of mine. He hires people. They put them out. He gets deals from them. They will always work. I always say this when I'm teaching in my class: all marketing works if you do enough of it, right? So, but I mean, that's completely all we did was just bandit signs.
How many signs did you put out at the time?
Over the years, I put out at least 2,000 from Galveston to Beaumont myself. Yeah. We used to have a special makeshift hammer and a reacher, like those grabbers where you can grab like a Coke, like a foot away, you know?
Yeah.
And so we could put them high on hopefully no city officials are watching this, but so we could put them high on the telephone pole. So it would take forever for the city official to get it so it'd stay up longer.
Yeah. Did you have to walk across the ditches too?
Oh, yeah. Jump lots of ditches.
Go where the high grass is?
Oh, yeah. Ruin lots of shoes, lots of mud, whatever. Did whatever I had to do.
Okay. As you got bigger or learned more, you said you transitioned over to do the lunches, right? Okay. How did you do that? How did you tell everyone to show up?
Yeah. So I had been wholesaling 2 years before I became a realtor. And what I learned from being in a different place as I was young, right? I get 5,000 and I'm like, I'm rich, right? and so, but we would go with Tom. We would go to the old Wealth Club when Gordon Appleby owned it, off of close to, where was that, on the west side of town, right? And it's just a small suite that he had. Anyways, so we would go there and Tom would have his deals he's presenting to wholesale to investors there. And then I'd give Tom mine too, right? Because I didn't want to go in front of people. I'm the opposite now, but didn't want to go in front of people. And I was just like, oh, just let me know when we get paid and we'll split it up. So he used to present in front, and every time we go, we have a new deal, but half of them were mine, right? Right. So then this guy approached him. He said, Tom, man, every time you come, you have new deals. Like, you're really active. You're kicking butt.
Yeah.
He's like, if you want to keep some of those, I'll loan you some money to do it. Right. And then I was like, oh man, light bulb. Right. Oh, that's what he's doing. So I told Tom about it. He's like, I didn't really know that's what I was doing, but yeah, he was like, you get private money from it. You get deals. So then I learned, okay. So I had already been wholesaling. I came to my brokerage and I asked them, hey, are you okay with this? Can I teach? And they're like, yeah, let's do it. It's like, okay. So then I learned, that when you're in front of a crowd, even if somebody owns, 300 houses that's in the crowd, well, I'm the teacher. So I'm the expert, right? So the teacher gets private money, gets deals, gets a lot of things, right? So, and I give them a lot of good information, obviously, right? But yeah, that's how I learned to teach. And that's when I started teaching.
Amazing.
Yeah.
How long do you normally, does the lunch last?
Oh, it's usually, 30 minutes to an hour.
Okay.
Right. So, I always have something new to talk about. I actually have a website, and I put it out there. It's not for anything. I don't get anything on it, but it has all my videos for years that I've taught here at the class. So
amazing.
Yeah.
And how long did it take for you to actually get deals from those lunches?
Honestly, sometimes I used to get them that day. Right? Realtors are like, oh, I might have something like that. Realtors don't think in that sense. A lot of times when they're talking to sellers, I had one realtor here in Clear Lake on Bonanza. The street is, because that's now the name of one of my companies. Anyways, on the street there, and it was an old couple, and the guy was a engineer, and then he was married and very particular about everything. They had 3 different colors on the trim. He wanted to do everything himself. And it had been like 3 or 4 years, right? Yeah. And so the realtor was telling him, she was like, hey, you need to get this done so we can get it on the market. right? Well, they're about to get a divorce over this thing, right? So right. So then she came to my class and she was
Yeah.
like, oh, they can sell it just like that, right?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. So we bought the property from them, paid the realtor well for doing it.
Uh-huh.
They were happy they didn't get a divorce, right? They can move on, right? And
Yeah.
so really you're opening the realtors' minds up to another option, right? Especially back then. I'm going to say what other people have said, that I was the first one or one of the first to teach realtors and to really build that up
Uh-huh.
and get deals, because investors used to say, like, realtors don't understand where we need to
Mm-hmm.
be on this. Like, they don't understand the numbers. We got to be
Mm-hmm.
much lower than they realize. But after I did, I saw net worth doing it. I
Mm-hmm.
saw other people, a lot of other people. Actually, somebody saw Alex Delatorre. I'll call him out. Alex Delatorre, he's my buddy. And we did a big class, and then he started hitting up realtors, right? So actually, Alex Delatorre and I did a big joint class together at
Mm-hmm.
the aquarium in Kima. This was probably 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And we got 42 realtors to show up. We bought food and everything. We actually put on a good, I call it a show. I mean, we're teaching, but we also have to
So it's
grab their
free,
attention.
free for the realtor.
Yeah, free for the realtor for sure, and free
Right.
food, and you're in a nice place in Kima,
Yeah.
an aquarium, right? And so that day we made $100,000. I always tell Alex, worked so well, we didn't do it again, right?
How much how much did it cost you for the lunch?
I was like $2,000.
So you got, I mean, your cost per deal was very, yeah, it was very good return.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
So how long did
So
you do that for?
how long was the class?
No, how long, when did you start doing the lunches, and are you still doing them now?
So I had been doing it for 6 years straight. Obviously, this year's a little weird with Corona and everything. People aren't. I did it on Zoom. I didn't like it, but so I've been doing it for 6 years straight. It's about to go on to 7 years. So I just been doing it for a long time, and I've done it at other brokerages also, and had at restaurants where realtors show up, things like that.
What's your average attendance?
Good question. So average attendance, I would say, would be, and it depends on how we market it and how on top of it we are, but I would say let's just say between 5 to 15 people, right? Unless we're having a big event like me and Alex did,
Yeah.
but not so much that it's that my class is getting advertised in the market center. People all see it on the calendar. People know I am the in-house investor realtor, right? Come to me, right? So yeah.
So you were saying earlier, all your deals, you no longer do bandit sign, you don't do direct mails, you don't do SEO. So all your deals come from relationship.
Those 3 ways I talked about, in I bought 15 last 3 months. We're on track to do 21 the next 3. It's just something I built. I've been doing it for a long time now. Right. So yeah, I mean, all of those deals are from those 3 sources that I talked about. Yeah.
How long did it take you for it to become steady?
So, well, I'd have to define what's steady, right? But I would say, to start, I would get a deal from a realtor maybe once every 2 to 3 months. And then, of course, I did my own marketing and I got deals from there, that way. But obviously it snowballs, right?
Yeah.
People start to know you. People start to just bring more deals to you. They know you can close. They know you real. You're not going to treat them bad. That's the other thing. I always treat people. I mean, it sounds cliche, but the way I want to be treated, right? So I always treat people well, right? I know a buddy. I'm not going to call his name out, but everybody knows him. But I always say I trust people until they screw me over, and then I'm cautious. He's like, oh, I don't trust anybody until they earn my trust. Well, I'm the opposite, right? I think the best of people first, and I make sure I take care of them.
That's great.
Taking care of me, right? So, and I always say too, when I'm teaching, it's almost like you're putting out in the universe. Whenever you're helping people, and I'm not expecting anything from that specific person or that day or anything, but it always comes back. It always comes back, right? So
yeah. When you give first, you'll eventually someone will you'll get, right?
Yeah.
That mentality.
Yes,
That's powerful. So tell us, after that first wholesale deal that you did, right? Now, walk us through your typical deal. What does it look like? What's your
Sure.
thought process of what you're going to do with that deal?
Yeah. So our typical deal is ARV of 250 and under. Honestly, it's probably more like 200 and under if we averaged it all out. And we're buying it for, let's just say 100, right? And a lot of these need, I would say 60 to 70% of them need complete rehab. So we're spending 35 to 50,000. That might not sound like a lot to a lot of people, but I've been in the business for a while, so I have a great contractor at great prices, and I keep him busy. Now, I've had him for 3.5 years. I worked with him. I recently partnered with him 9 months ago. So now I get things at cost, really. And we're able to, and we're scaling more, obviously, right? That's the amount of deals we're doing. So that really helps. But anyway, so we put that money in it, and then we sell it, and we average 36,000 net profit at the end of the day.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
So do you rehab all of them, everything you buy?
The last year and a half, I haven't wholesaled anything. So, I mean, I'm open to it, and we actually plan on wholesaling some, but I haven't in the last year and a half.
So you said you bought 15 last quarter, right? Yeah. Managing 15 rehab can be a nightmare.
Can be.
So the good thing about it is you stay on top.
Sure. The good thing about it is I don't do any of that.
But right? Somebody has to manage the projects.
My partner does, right? But he was already doing that before we partnered. He'd have 10, 11, 12 projects going.
Yeah.
And that's why I partner with him. He's great at systems, processes, actually really good with money, really good with his guys. So he told me about a month ago, I didn't even know. He's like, we have 35 contractors working for us. And I was like, oh no, that's good, I guess. We have 5 crews, right? So he goes and he's just really good at it. And I trust him. And we've been praised a lot by other realtors and other investors on how good our product is compared, right? So, my job is to find deals and raise the money and a few things in the office, but that's really it. We have 2 assistants that handle a lot of things in the office. There's a lot of paperwork involved, obviously, with all of that. I don't want to handle that. That gives me a headache, right? And so that's one of the reasons why I partnered too. It's more save my time, save my health, save my stress levels,
Well, nobody likes to manage contractors, I take a special skills and passion for that.
Yeah.
And maybe we're going to have to talk to your partners about that side of the business one day. Yeah.
He will never do this. I can tell you that. He's a different personality, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing, right? I like talking. I like building relationships. He's not going to go talk to I even try to do on our flip a video, and he's like, don't put me in it. I'm like, all right.
Well, everyone has their own strength, huh?
Right.
Okay. So talk to us about funding those deals. Again, that's another thing, right?
Yeah.
Having the asset, or the access to the fund so that you can close on the more deals that you close, you got to have access to more funds. So talk to us about that.
Goes back to building relationships, really, and I've got a small handful of private lenders, that I use. And honestly, I was using one at the end, about a year and a half ago, exclusively. I had over probably $2.5 million out with her. And she's super happy. She's like, man, you're so easy to work with. I just tell her, hey, Judy, I need 3 days. I need 150 grand. Okay. Send me the wire instructions. She just knows me. But I have some other private lenders too. And, and then when we keep them, I refinance them with the banks, a few different banks, Texas Citizens, Moody, just did one with Allegiance. After you get about 5 with them, they just really want to dig in. And I'm like, and we'll give them all that, but I'm like, it's easier to just go to another bank.
So you acquire your properties through private lending.
Yes.
And those are the best kind of lenders. What kind of terms do you normally have?
I use Judy. At first she was 10-1, right? And then she's like, hey, you think we could do 10, 1.5? And then it went up to 2. And I'm like, whatever. She's like, you're super easy. Okay, that's fine. Right. But I actually had somebody reach out to me recently. First, today I'm signing with it's first time he lends on a property, and it's 9-1,
Mm.
right? And he's
What's
actually
his name?
yeah, it's actually a guy I knew in middle school. We were actually
Yeah, yeah,
friends,
yeah.
and we connected on Facebook, and he's a principal now, and he just has extra cash. The thing with that is people are like, oh, let's go raise more private money. And yes, I agree. You should go raise cheaper private money,
Mm-hmm.
though your time is more well spent finding more deals. You're
Mm-hmm.
going to make more money finding more deals than spending all your time raising private money for 1-2% less,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So it really hasn't been a priority for me. Like I said, we average what we average. We average 36,000, on our flips.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really about, hey, let's just get more, let's do more. But
Mm-hmm.
yes, I'm always looking for cheaper private money. If anybody's looking at this,
We all want cheaper money.
I'm open. I'm open. Yes, yes.
So tell us on the average, how long does it take you from the acquisition to this position?
Our average 4 months or so. We've done some much quicker. We've done some that took longer. But I would think an average of 4 months. Honestly, I don't have that number in front of me and I don't have it in my head. But if I had to guess, that's probably what it would be.
So are you the one going now, meeting with the seller, making the offer?
It's been at least a year and a half where I'm talking to sellers directly, much at all.
Mm-hmm.
Now when my wholesale assistants bring me something, I'm usually talking with the seller.
Mm-hmm.
But when the realtors, I don't want to talk too much up the realtors because everybody's gonna start doing it. But but no, you know what? I don't care. That's the thing. I was like, I started talking about it. Tom was like, don't talk about it till I was like, man, look, there's so many realtor brokerages out there. Go to your local one, right? And when they bring them to you and you built that relationship, it's a silver platter deal. You've already told them what you're buying at. I'm
Mm-hmm.
buying at 70% minus repairs,
Mm-hmm.
right? And some of my biggest home runs have been from realtors,
Mm.
right? So yeah, they've been some of my biggest ones. But yeah, so just really those three ways have been my bread and butter. And then of course when I'm buying from a wholesaler, I'm not talking to the seller.
Right.
So
Okay.
usually it's just my one source where I'm talking to sellers. So
Okay.
it's I'm really good at it because I've been doing it for years. I mean, I
Right.
used to have my wholesale since we were really ramping it up like a year and a half ago. I had 4 guys. We had a group. Those are about 8 of them, but I had 4 guys that did it very part-time and they all made a little over $60,000. We had some good deals. We had some good energy. It was good.
I feel like real estate, if you do it right, you could make a really decent living just doing it part time, really.
Yeah,
Maybe you make what, 36 per deal, and if you do 4 deals a year, that's
right.
way better than someone
Yeah,
who put in 40 hours a week.
yeah. Especially if you have a job and you don't have like a bunch of overhead and all, you just get to
Yeah.
keep it all. Awesome.
Yeah, you could pull up 4 deals a year by yourself without paying
Yeah,
employee.
exactly. I would
Yeah.
agree. I would agree.
So what in today's world, obviously you've been in since for 14 years, so you have experienced ups and downs. So in today's world, what's your biggest challenge or challenges that you're facing?
I would say just making sure all the systems and processes are in place so we're not wasting $1,000 here, a couple thousand here. When you got that many going, there's a lot of room for mistakes, right? And really, if someone was there just to analyze and to look at it and be like, hey, I can save you, if you look at it, I can save you $3,000-4,000 a month. Oh, that's okay. That's a big deal, right? So just making sure that the details are taken care of and that we run it as smoothly as we can and not waste money, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I was going to go back to, I thought you were going to go somewhere else with that question, but I just thought of this. So
Yeah.
if I had to go back in time, right?
Uh-huh.
What have I learned or what would I do that maybe I was scared of before
Uh-huh.
that I would have done sooner or that I would do more of?
Okay.
And so I went through Ike, right? That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Hurricane Ike.
Oh, wait. Uh-huh.
Oh wait, yeah. And so there was a lot of properties out there flooded, and a lot of investors were scared, right?
Yeah.
Like, man, is it going to flood again? Like, what's right?
Yeah.
And what I learned was that it always comes back. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter if it flooded or how many times it's flooded. I mean, in a lot of my areas, maybe if you're talking Ireland, that's a special thing, right? But a lot of
Right.
these areas,
Like
you
that
know,
Sage area over
that was
Scarsdale.
so then when I came around, I was ready. Everybody was like, I don't know, and I'm like, fuck, send them all to me. I'll
Mm-hmm.
buy them all.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did. I got a great deal in Sagemont. I think I paid like 47,000 for it, and it's worth
Mm-hmm.
200
Mm-hmm.
now. I've had that for a little bit. I had another one in Dickinson. I paid 42, and it's worth about 220 right now. Right.
Yeah.
I still have some of those to this day. I had one in Friendswood. I owned it for, I got a tenant in there. She had 800 credit score. She had just got a divorce. I knew she'd probably be like, hey, let me buy it later. Right. She was in there for a year or a year and a half. And I sold it to her and I made like 64 grand. Right. Owned it for a year. Right. So, if a hurricane comes and,
Mm-hmm.
God bless everybody's safe and takes care of everything. Right. And I'm there as help if they want my help, if they need my help. But I'm going to buy as many of those as I can.
Well, remember, speaking of hurricane, remember after Harvey, remember the number of investors that poured into the Houston area? That was
Mm-hmm.
crazy.
I agree. But I still feel like I'm in a small group of very successful investors,
Mm-hmm.
and even in there, they're like, oh, I'm gonna wait and see. So I know even the experienced guys were kind of iffy about the flooded houses,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm on the south side of town, right? So it floods sometimes, right? We're
Yeah.
right by the ocean. I guess I'm more confident about it. I've
Mm-hmm.
seen the cycle. I know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Galveston has been through 8 hurricanes over the years, right? And it always comes back stronger, right? So I'm just ready.
So, what's the least and the most that you have made on a deal?
The least I made is 2,000 on that
Uh-huh.
deal. And then the most I made was a house in the Rice military area. It was a 5-plex that was jacked. The foundation was jacked. Everything was so it was bad.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a while the seller was weird. Anyways, I won't go through all of that, but it took a while to get it closed.
Mm-hmm.
So my wholesale assistant brought it to me, right? And I pay 30% of the fee. If you converted it to a single family home, it'd be
Mm-hmm.
worth about $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
If we just fixed it as the 5-plex,
Mm-hmm.
then it will be worth about 750, right? But it needed a good probably 150 to put
Okay.
into it, right? I had under contract for 220,000, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So I know I had a good deal. I had it under contract. So I called all the normal guys. I called Alan Hernandez at the time. I called Curtis Warden. I called all the guys that I knew, like did, big, higher ARVs, huge rehabs, and everybody was just like, it's just not our bread and butter. We don't buy these ARVs of 750 and we got to put 150. And all my normal guys, I couldn't get it sold to.
Yeah.
So my contract was coming up. I said, man, I know I have a good deal. And I constantly had, because I was putting it out there. I was putting it out at 70%, 420 something thousand,
Mm-hmm.
right? 70% deal. So my contract was coming up and I was like, man, I called Tom. That's if I ever need, and I didn't have all the private lenders they had, but I called Tom.
Yeah.
Like, Tom, like I got a really good deal.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him all about it. He's like, do you have some buyers? And I said, I think I do. I had some more coming, right? They seemed very serious. He said, all right, I'll give you the money. So I got the money from him, no repair money, just to buy it, right?
Uh-huh.
So now, I closed on it. So now I own this POS in the middle of Rice, right? Then that's like 17,000 taxes a year. And I'm like, all right, right?
That
Somebody said,
holding cost,
yeah, plus holding costs, right? So I was like, all right, somebody said, why don't you just list it on HAR? I was like, well, my thoughts anywhere was like, once it's on HAR, investors don't think it's a deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you are reaching a different audience when you list it on HAR too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I listed on HAR. We ended up getting a buyer that did a 1031 exchange.
Yeah.
So I always say in my classes to realtors, y'all know this, but I just kind of going it over this. But do you think that guy who's doing a 1031 exchange would pay a little more than a guy who's just buying to flip it? Yes,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
He's going to save on taxes, right?
Right.
So we closed it. At the end of the day, we made $135,000. Never touched the place, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now I had my wholesale assistant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of funny, but anyways, so at the end of the day, he made I think it was $35,000 for knocking on the door, right?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
told him I pay him the 30%, and I do what I say I'm going to do, right?
Yeah.
Now he did help me with the closing. You know, it was kind of a rough task getting into closing, but we got it done. But yeah, that was a big one. That was a big one, and you know, we never touched it, and yeah, it was a good one.
Hey, you only want to do like a few more of those, right?
Right, right. Wish I could do a bunch of those.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think if we do 2 of those or 3 of those a year, we'll be good.
yeah. Exactly, exactly,
All
exactly.
right. So we get into the end.
Okay.
What are the 3 tips or tools or your things that have helped you throughout the years and that you want to share it with the listeners?
Sure. So maybe for somebody new, right?
New or experience, the 3 takeaway impactful,
Sure.
lesson that you have learned.
I would say, you know, you can talk about buying at the right percentage and paperwork and how it all works, but honestly, that's 20% of it. Once you know that, 80% of it is, do you have your goals? Are they fresh on your mind? Do you have the motivation? Are you excited? If not, create it, right? And also revisit. Sometimes you might need to change up. I've been wholesaling forever. It's getting boring. All right, let's flip, right? That's getting boring. All right, let's keep some rentals.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do some commercial, right? I mean, I didn't used to think that way until I was like, all right, I'm just buying another house. Like, you know, but I'm doing some new things that are exciting in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually going to be coaching all over the US on people how to wholesale. So,
Oh, I'm excited
charging.
for you.
Yeah, I hired a coach who coaches coaches to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about that too, because that's what I enjoy really. I get joy of seeing other people succeed, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So have your goals, be excited. So when you have to hustle, it comes naturally because you're excited about your goals, and in achieving those goals. So that's one tip. The other tip, what I would say is take a personality test. Go to TonyRobbins.com, take the DISC test, find out what personality you are. So then you can go with that with the way you're going to market. If you're a technical person, you're probably going to be better at sending out mailers and crunching those numbers, seeing what works, all that stuff, or internet or whatever, you're going to be more of that. I'm a social driver, right? So I enjoy talking to people. I don't mind repeating myself sometimes over and over about the same thing to different people,
Yeah.
right? So that's my personality. That's what I go with. That's what I'm good at naturally. That's
Yeah.
what I enjoy, right? So find that out. Not only that, but the personalities when you're talking to sellers or realtors or whoever you're getting or wholesalers, whoever you're getting the deal from, if you present the offer the way that person wants to hear it,
Mm-hmm.
then they'll probably take your offer over other people. I can go into an example if we have time real quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So there was one in LaPorte. I had my wholesale assistant. He was an engineer type. I could totally IT type. I could tell. We walk in, he has a NASA shirt on. The AC worked, but he just didn't have it on. He's over there working. He's sweating, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he brings us these numbers. We hadn't even talked to him about it much. And he's not a realtor. He crunched some numbers. He's like, so here's a chart I made. And he said that I think once you fix it, it's going to sell for this based on this and this and this.
Yeah,
and I know
yeah.
you got to put some money in it. So and I know you got to put some profit. So here's what I think you can pay. Okay. Right. That's not normal for a seller, right? Totally high IT, technical type. So what do? he said, hey, can you give me a breakdown? So what we did is we went back, went to the title company, got a breakdown of everything that, his net number.
Mm-hmm.
And then we bullet point and sent him how this would all go. First, they go to
Mm-hmm.
contract, then it's going to go to title. Then they're going to, they're researching title, then we'll close this and that. We sent him all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even think we're the highest offer, but he told us, he's like, I'm going to go with you guys because y'all were really professional.
Mm-hmm.
It's because we presented the offer, and I'm not technical,
mm-hmm.
but we presented the offer in the way he wanted to hear it. So there's 4 personality types, right? So you got to,
yeah, because this is where that phrase, treat others how you want to be treated, is wrong. It's where unique instance, right? It's how they want to be treated.
Right. Sure. Yes. And if they're social, everyone want to talk, right? If they're a driver, let's get to it. What's the number? I'll let you know. If they're compliant, they're, make sure all the T's are crossed, I's are dotted, everything's taken care of. You have somewhere to move, where you're moving, all of that good stuff.
So speaking of one of your tip earlier, you talk about goal. So what are your goals?
Sure. So a couple of my big ones are, I'm going to have a house on the water in Miami.
Yeah.
I'm going to pay my mom $40,000 a year for being my mom. I already sent her a check. We just got to up that monthly, right, to get there. I've achieved some of my goals, but those are some of my major ones. Get a boat. I'm going to get a boat soon. I live on the canal, so I need to get a boat.
Uh-huh.
And I have a few other goals, but it's more of and then it's a net worth goal, and a cash goal. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So what is one thing people might be surprised to learn about you?
One thing people might be surprised to learn about me. Well, I'm single. No, that I didn't graduate. I didn't go to college. That I don't know. That's a good question. I'm a pretty open book. That's why, right? I don't really, I pretty much tell you everything.
All right. What's your favorite hobby?
My favorite hobby really goes back to my personality, right? I like hanging out with friends, going on vacations with them. Mm-hmm. I like to, in the morning, I like to sit on my back porch, have my morning, have actually a healthy burrito I eat, my coffee. And now I say every morning what I appreciate in my life out loud. It's very helpful, I feel. And, and I like playing sports. I've always been good at sports. So I'll play with my buddies, basketball, tennis.
That's amazing. Yeah. Thanks for sharing all of that with us. Last questions. How does the audience get in touch with you?
Well, they can email me at nathan@myhomebuyer.org or text me because I do say busy. But if you want to text me and then I can get back with you or call you, I can give you my number. It's 281-683-2229.
Well, that is all for today's episode of the Real Estate Ballers. Thank you for watching, and thank you, Nathan, for some really powerful messages that we got from you. And don't forget to visit our website at REBallers.com to learn more about us. If you found value in this show, we would appreciate a thumb up, or if you simply tell a friend about us, that would help too. And please hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss another show.